Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Chimera's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how you can lose your friends for just $15. Who knew that losing your friends could be so budget friendly? Now, why would you want to lose your friends for $15? Well, I'm not here to ask questions. I'm just here to show you how to do it. So with all that said, well, let's jump into it. And the first step to losing your friends is to choose Eloise Nephalia Sleuth as your commander. Now, just doing that will not lose your friends. In fact, there are plenty of fantastic Eloise decks that you can build that are really fun and flavorful and awesome, but this one is going to be one that is going to have your friends, leaving you forever. Anyways, Eloise is perfect for this deck, though. She's a 4/4 human rogue that costs 3 blue-black, and she has, whenever another creature you control dies, investigate, which of course means that you make a clue token that has pay 2, sacrifice it, draw a card. And on top of that, whenever you sacrifice a token, surveil 1, which of course means look at the top card of your library, and you can put that card into your graveyard if you want to. Now, the part that we are going to focus on, though, is that first part, and, well, there are some pretty interesting things about that. Most notably, it does not specify what type of creature, being, token or non-token. And typically, when it comes to death triggers like that, usually they do specify non-token for the most part. But because this one does not, we can do some really spicy things, and things that are so spicy, I guess, that, well, they're probably too spicy for your friends, and then your friends will leave you, never to be seen again. Now again, losing your friends is incredibly budget friendly, and actually with this deck, every single card in it except for one, and no, that's actually not the commander, is less than $1. And we'll talk about why that exact card has been chosen to be in this deck that is above $1. But as I take you through the cards on this episode, I'm going to be taking you through different tactics to show you how this deck works and how we're going to win with it. Maybe I should say, you'll see here in a bit what I mean by this deck really working. And also keep in mind, if for whatever reason you are interested in this deck, and you apparently want to lose your friends for $15, well, I'm not going to ask you why, but I will provide you a link in the description below for the deck list. So you can pick it up if you'd like to lose your friends. And now with all that said, let's jump into the cards and see why exactly you're going to be losing your friends. And with this deck, how you're going to lose your friends is, of course, with the Golden Pig of this deck, which is, of course, the number 1 card out of 99. And the Golden Pig for this deck is March of the Machines. It's an enchantment for 3 and a blue that says each non-creature artifact is an artifact creature with power and toughness each equal to its converted mana cost. Now, this card has a very interesting interaction with our commander in that, well, our commander can very easily make clues. Again, Eloise says, whenever the creature you control dies, investigate. And like I mentioned, it did not specify non-token creatures. So because of that, well, obviously, it does count token creatures. Whenever a token creature dies, you investigate, which means that you make a clue. And with March of the Machines in play, well, here's the thing. Our clues are now creatures, and not just any kind of a creature. They are a 0/0 because they've got, no mana cost. They cost 0, so they are 0/0s. And, that means that when they come into play, well, they just die. Because they have absolutely no toughness, they are taken out right away. But when that does happen, well, here's the thing. Eloise sees that and says, oh, hey, that clue creature just died. Cool. Because that happened, let's investigate, make another clue. And then that clue creature says, oh no, I have 0 toughness. Dies, makes another one. Dies, makes another one. And this will repeat infinitely. This will not stop. This is not a may trigger. So every single time this happens, you have to do it. You must make that clue creature token that must die. And this is a process that is just going to infinitely happen and never stop. So as easy as it is for us to actually set up this combination, again, it is impossible for us to stop if we don't have any way to stop it, and we will not. Because that's actually part of the plan and how we actually are going to lose our friends. Our goal with this deck is not to win it all, but to essentially waste everyone's time with that game, because the game will end in a tie. Because, again, once this combo gets going, it does not stop. There is no may in there. It has to keep going, and it will keep going. And therefore, well, no one can take any actions, and the game is just going to end in a draw. And what better way to upset your friends than to let them know that the game that they just worked on playing means nothing, and that your goal the entire time was to have it mean nothing. So our goal with this deck is, of course, very simple. All we need to do is either have a creature die under our control so that we can create a clue while this is in play, or to just already have an artifact token in play. And then get March the Machines out, explain to our friends that, well, the game's over now, and then lose our friends. So of course, this obnoxious combination of cards is just the start of this deck. Next up, let's quickly go through our ramp package in this deck. We're going to be ramping with cards like Charcoal Diamond and Sky Diamond, each of which enter the battlefield tapped and tap for one of our two colors. And I probably should already mention this, but yeah, to make this as budget-friendly as possible, many of the cards in this deck are actually less than a quarter. Yeah, because we really want to lose our friends on the lowest of budgets, right? So we're also going to be utilizing cards like Commander Sphere, Letter of Acceptance, and Araska Relic. Commander Sphere can tap for either our colors, and we can sacrifice it to draw a card. Letter of Acceptance can tap for any color, and we can pay 2 to tap and sacrifice it to draw as well. And then Araska Relic has Ascend, and yeah, getting the City's Blessing is not going to take long at all. It can tap for a colorless, or we can tap and sacrifice it to gain 3 life and draw a card, but only if we've got the City's Blessing. Regardless, utilizing Mana Rocks to be able to dig down into our deck to get to, again, either our Golden Pig or a card that can get to it can be huge. So we're also going to be utilizing other Mana Rocks that can help out with Dimir Locket, Hedron Archive, and Magnifying Glass. Dimir Locket can tap for either our colors, and we can pay Dimir, 4 mana in total, to tap and sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. Or there's Hedron Archive, which can tap for 2, or we can pay 2 and tap and sacrifice it to draw 2. And then Magnifying Glass is a card that can help us out in a different way, tap for a colorless, or pay 4 to tap and investigate. Again, it is crucial for our obnoxious combo to happen infinitely that we have a clue in play, or that we have a way to make a clue. So yeah, even one of our Mana Rocks can help with this. And of course, so can some Mana Dorks with Ornithopter Paradise, Silvermere, and Leadenmere. Ornithopter Paradise can tap for any color, and Silvermere can tap for blue, Leadenmere can tap for a black, but yeah, having creatures in play that we can sacrifice to get that trigger from our commander to make a clue can be huge. And of course, we'll go through plenty of ways that we can sacrifice great creatures like these, but first, let's talk about some ways to get to our Golden Pig, starting off with some fantastic tutors like Diabolic Tutor, which just lets us go get any card in our library, like March the Machines, and get it right into our hand. And then there's Coveted Prize, which is actually going to cost us 1 less for each creature in our party, and keep in mind that our commander, yes, is a rogue, so yeah, at the very least, it's going to be reduced by 1, so this can cost just 4 mana as well, and it says, search your library for a card, put in your hand, then shuffle your library, and if you've got a full party, well, you can cast a card with converted mana cost 4 less from your hand without paying its mana cost. I don't think we're going to be making a full party anytime soon, but still, yeah, this is just a great way like Diabolic Tutor to go tutor for a card. Next up, how about Illicit Shipment, which we can actually copy because it's got Casualty 3, so by sacrificing a creature with power 3 or greater, we copy it, and it's going to let us search our life for a card, put in our hand, then shuffle. Most of the time, we won't need to do that, but again, if we do have a creature in play that we actually want to sacrifice to get a clue, we can start things off with that. Up next, though, there's Razcast Right, which is just a straight-up tutor that we can also cycle for a black, and then Demonic Bargain, which is a very risky card, but hey, we're already down to risk friendships with this deck, so what's some more risk? Demonic Bargain, anyways, is a sorcery that costs 2 in a black, and it says exile the top 13 cards of your library, then search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then shuffle. So this is a very cheap tutor, again, only 3 mana, but there is the potential that we, lose what this entire deck is about. March the Machine. So, if we exile that, whoops! If not, Yeah, 3 mana tutor, this can come in huge. Again, with a deck that we're risking our friendships anyways, come on, you can risk it, right? But finally, we're also going to be utilizing some transmute cards, which can help us out as well with Dimir Houseguard, Clutch the Undercity, and Brain Spoil. Dimir Houseguard can actually be a great sacrifice outlet for us. It does have sacrifice a creature regenerate it, but more importantly, it has transmute for 1 black, which means we can discard it and search our library for any card that's got the same converted mana cost. So yeah, 4, and go get that. And yeah, March the Machine definitely has a converted mana cost of 4. So we're also going to be running Clutch the Undercity, which can bounce target permanent back to its owner's hand, and its controller loses 3 life, and we can transmute it for 1 blue-black. So again, go get something that costs 4. And then Brain Spoil actually can go get something that costs 5, because it does, cost 3 black, and it's got transmute for 1 black. That being said, although this can't go get us our golden pig, it can go get us a tutor, which can go get us the golden pig. So we're going to find ways to ensure that we can get the golden pig into our hand. So of course, we've got plenty of other ways to dig through our deck to either get to a tutor or get to our golden pig itself, with cards like Viscera, Drown, Rusalka, and Dockside Chef. Viscera has sacrifice a creature, scry 1. So again, this can be a great way to ensure that we can sacrifice either itself or another creature to dig into our deck and also be able to make clues with our commander. And then Drown Rusalka has pay blue, sacrifice a creature, discard a card, then draw a card. So while this is looting, it is not card advantage, like Viscera Scry is not card advantage either, but it can be fantastic card selection. When it comes to card advantage, though, Dockside Chef can help with that. Pay 1 black, sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw a card. So again, keep in mind, these can actually sacrifice themselves if needed. Speaking of which, there's Thallid Soothsayer, which has pay 2, sacrifice a creature, draw a card. And then Fellstinger works in a different way. It's a 3/2 with Death Touch that has exploit, so when it enters the battlefield, we sacrifice a creature. If we do, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. So keep in mind, we can of course have it sacrifice itself if need be, or another one of our creatures to get that trigger. And we also have some other low-to-the-ground creatures that can sacrifice themselves with Merfolk Windrobber, Hapless Researcher, and Alchemist's Apprentice. The Windrobber is a 1/1 flyer, and whenever it deals combat to a player, that player mills a card, and we can sacrifice it to draw a card, but only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. Yeah, it's not going to take very long for us to build up enough cards in that player's graveyard with this over a couple of turns, especially, also considering any other things that they're going to be hitting their graveyard too. But next up, there's Hapless Researcher, which doesn't need any help to be sacrificed. We can sacrifice it to draw a card, then discard a card, so another fantastic way to loot. Whereas Alchemist's Apprentice is just going to be straight up card advantage. By sacrificing it, we draw a card. Speaking of which, there's Sturge, which is a 1/1 flyer that can't block, and by paying 1 black, we can pay 1 life to sacrifice it to draw a card. Again, 1 life for 1 card is no big deal, and of course, on top of that, again, keep in mind that we do get a clue token when we're sacrificing these, so yeah, if we need to utilize that earlier in the game to dig deeper, we can, or again, it can be part of our obnoxious combo. Regardless, next up there's Parcel Mirror, which has pay 2, sacrifice it, draw a card, and of course we're also going to be running Muldrifter, which we can just cast for its evoke cost for 2 and a blue and draw 2 cards when it enters the battlefield, and of course it's sacrificed right away with that evoke. But of course we're not quite done with digging down into our deck just yet. So we're also going to dig in different ways, starting off with Hard Evidence, Bloodhound, and Dusk Legion Zealot. Hard Evidence is going to have us make a 0/3 blue crab creature token, and it's going to have us investigate. So keep in mind, we can sacrifice that crab token in another way if we want to make another clue. And speaking of clues, there's Bloodhound, which has pay 3 and tap investigate, and yeah, again with this combo, we just need 1 clue to get it started. And then Dusk Legion Zealot has enters the battlefield, you draw a card and lose 1 life, and again, 1 life for 1 card is no big deal at all. And we can dig even further into our deck with some great looting effects, starting off with, well, Merfolk Looter. It has tap, draw a card, then discard a card. So yeah, we can dig down until we either hit a tutor or again hit our golden pig. And then Obsessive Stitcher does the exact same thing, but of course on top of that, we can pay 2 blue, black, and tap and sacrifice it to get a creature card from our graveyard back to the battlefield. So yeah, if we really need to do that, we can. And speaking of fantastic looters, there's Forgotten Creation, which has Skulk, which, okay, that's nice. We don't really care about that too much. What we do care about is at the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. So this can have us just dig down really deep into our deck, just basically replacing our hand and hopefully digging further for, again, either a tutor or our golden pig. And finally, we also have some Starfish that can help us out as well. Sigil Starfish has tap Scry 1, and Sinister Starfish has tap Surveil 1. Regardless, each of these can be great ways to dig down deeper into our deck, trying to get to the exact cards that we need to, okay, again, I was going to say win, but to draw the game. And of course, outside of creatures, we've got plenty of fantastic spells that can help us dig down deeper into this deck with cards like Costly Plunder, Sign in Blood, and Read the Bones. Costly Plunder is going to have a sacrifice an artifact or creature to draw 2 cards, and again, that can actually be a good thing. Having to sacrifice a creature can make us the clue that we need to win. And then Sign in Blood is going to have target player draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, and Read the Bones is going to have a scry 2, then draw 2, and lose 2. Regardless, again, each of these can be fantastic at helping us dig deep into our deck to get to what we need to do, well, to combo off infinitely and draw. So we're also going to be running Notion Rain, which says Surveil 2, then draw 2, and it's going to deal 2 damage to us. So again, some nice card selection first, and then some nice card advantage. And then Ambition's Cost and Ancient Craving do the exact same thing, draw 3, lose 3 life. Which of course is a price we are willing to pay. Speaking of a price that we're willing to pay to try to draw the game, well, we're also going to be running cards like Greed, Words of Wisdom, and Vision Skies. Greed has pay a black, pay 2 life, draw a card, and again, what is life really but just digging down into this deck deeper and deeper and deeper to get to our draw condition. And so we're also going to be running Words of Wisdom and Vision Skies, each of which are going to have us draw 2 cards, but Words of Wisdom is also going to have each other opponent draw 1 card, and Vision Skies has every single player draw 2 cards with us. So though these do benefit our opponents, again, we are just going as quick as we can, digging down into our deck, trying to get to, again, either a tutor or March the Machines. But of course, we've got some draw effects that only benefit us with cards like Thirst for Discovery, Thirst for Knowledge, and Thirst for Meaning. Each of us have draw 3, then discard 2 unless we discard one very specific thing. Thirst for Discovery says discard a basic land, Thirst for Knowledge is discarding an artifact, and Thirst for Meaning is discarding an enchantment. Nevertheless, these are very efficient ways to dig down deeper into our deck. So we're also going to be running Compulsive Research, which says let's draw 3, then discard 2 unless we discard a land. And speaking of sorcery speed, draw Weather's Ingenious Mastery, which says you may pay 2 and a blue rather than pay its mana cost. If you pay that 2 and a blue, you draw 3 cards, an opponent creates 2 treasures and scries 2. Which is a price we are willing to pay, again, for drawing the game, digging down deeper to get to what we need. Next up, there's Concentrate, which is going to simply have us draw 3 cards for 4 mana. And then Deep Analysis is going to have us draw 2 cards, but we can also flash it back for 1 and a blue and paying 3 life. So this can be a card that we can actually just get into our graveyard in another way, like through looting or surveilling. It can be a great thing to just, cast out of our graveyard. 2 cards for 2 mana, that's huge. And speaking of graveyards, there is Fact or Fiction, which has us reveal the top 5 cards of our library. Opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. One of those goes into our hand and the other goes into our graveyard. Next up, there's Tamio's Epiphany, which has a scry 4, then draw 2, so yeah, we can dig really deep into our deck with this. Speaking of which, there's Precognitive Perception, which has us draw 3, and if we cast it during our main phase, we scry 3 first, then draw 3. We can scry even more though with Ugin's Insight, which says scry X rex the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control, then draw 3 cards. So if our commander's in play, we scry 5 first, so yeah, we can dig up to 8 cards deep with this. Or we can draw even more cards with Rush of Knowledge, which says draw cards equal the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control, so yeah, again, if our commander is in play, that's going to be 5. Finally though, we're going to be running Tales of the Ancestors, which has each player with fewer cards in hand than the player with the most cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. And then Universal Surveillance can actually utilize our clues to help out. It has Improvise, so artifacts can help cast it, and it says draw X cards. So this can help us dig really deep if we set ourselves up properly. And speaking of setting ourselves up properly, well, I do just want to mention that, yeah, I mean, with our infinite loop with March of the Machines, we could very easily win the game. I mean, if we had any way to actually, maybe let's just say drain our opponents whenever one of our creatures dies or whenever our artifacts hits the graveyard, and there are plenty of ways to do that, like, like a Blood Artist or a Zulapur Cutthroat, or even a, Marionette Master, we could include those cards to actually win, but that's not the goal of this deck. Again, the goal is to actually draw the game to upset our friends so that they are no longer our friends. And now with all that said, and that we've gone through every single non-land card in this deck, let's talk about the lands. And very simply, again, we want to make this deck as budget-friendly as possible. Again, we want to lose our friends for the cheapest amount, so we are just going to be running basic lands with islands and swamps. And now that we've talked about every single card in this deck, well, let's talk about the price. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, and like you saw in the thumbnail and the description and the title, yeah, it's a $15 deck. This estimated cost for this deck is $15.37. Now keep in mind that cost actually does include basic lands at 10 cents a piece, so if you already have those basics, well, there's some extra savings for you there. And speaking of potential savings, well, you might be able to save even more by buying this deck on TCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, which of course need a home too. Though do keep in mind that this estimated cost does not include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. And with that, the show has come to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thank you again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.